Awesome guys, welcome back to my channel. I didn't do a waterproof two-way radio review for quite some time. In fact, from all the videos that I reviewed, I think only one before was waterproof, and that was the yellow Motorola. Let me quickly show this to you here. So, and because these Motorola radios, I think they are also pretty pricey, and because I only did one waterproof radio so far, I really got a second pair of these waterproof Retevis RT648, and as you can see, they have the IP67 water rating. I'm going to explain that to you in a second. Important for you, there is also a version that's called 48, so that's probably the main seller globally. That's in the US, or maybe I should better say North America. But since I have the European version, I'm going to show you the PMR446 right now with the 0.5 watts output power. And I really developed the habit because in the beginning, some people, I think they were a little bit confused about that. So let me quickly show you. The upper version is for Europe and the bottom ones are if you're in the US. So let's say you're living in Spain and France or the UK, you might want to look at the PMR version. Obviously in Europe, we only have 0.5 watt. So in the US, you should be able to get the exact similar model, just the FRS version. So please pay attention when you look in the video description below, because I will put a designated link, because under no circumstances you should always buy the correct radio for your geographic area. So with that out of the way, the second thing I wanted to show to you is the IP67 rating. The basic way how this works, again, my handy side card, I'm finding myself to use this a lot here. So the first is the dust rating, and I think that you call it solids, and the other one is for the water. So what my plan is, I'm usually always do the introductory part, as you maybe probably know by now. Then in part 2, I'm going to do the unboxing. I take it out of the box, show you a few close-up shots of the accessories, the charging station. And then usually in part 3, I'm going to do the range test. But because those are waterproof radios, what I'm simply going to do is I'm going to do test part 3A, where I go outside, maybe into the garden, and spray them down with the water hose to simulate how these radios going to handle, let's say you have a sudden rain downpour, a pretty heavy rain. So I'm going to check that, and then we're going to, right after that, we're going to do the range test while the radios are still wet and see how they perform on my usual test route. And guys, if you're planning to use multiple radios, you might also want to consider this additional accessory, this 5-port charger. I got that recently. I always put up that purchase. If you only have 2 radios and you have a bunch of USB chargers already lying around in the house, then maybe that's not such a big issue for you. But for me personally, I find it more convenient because by now I have quite a collection of different two-way radios. So that's why I think the dedicated charger is kind of nice. I can simultaneously charge up to 5 devices, which is kind of neat. Guys, before I digress any further, why don't we just get rolling with the unboxing? I'm super excited you're here. I'm really curious to see how these radios perform. They have a little bit of a longer antenna. I did test a bunch of other radios, and usually if they have a long antenna, they seem to perform better as opposed to when they have these very, very small antennas. So my guess is, if range is important to you, these might work pretty well because they have this longer antenna. So guys, let's get started with the unboxing. Very good, guys. Now we're going to look a little bit closer at the radios. I'm going to show a few close-up shots and unbox them for you. So let's quickly look inside. You have a big manual in different languages. You have the radio itself, which is also a little bit bigger than usual. Let me quickly zoom in a little bit for you here so that this shows up and you can see it well. Then the battery pack and the USB charger. So that's one thing I pointed out initially, that you want to make sure you have some kind of USB power supply to charge those up. And if you have multiple ones, then use this accessory charging station. So overall, I'm very curious to see how these radios perform. One thing I like to point out is that I'm a fan of these old school knobs right here. You just turn that to turn it on and raise the volume, and then the channel selector. So some other manufacturers, they tend to put displays in here and then a bunch of buttons, and if you have to change the volume or something or the channel, you have to push some buttons and go into some menu. And here everything is very plain and simple to use. Push the talk button. Here you see some kind of rubber gasket to protect the pins from water intrusion, I suppose. So let's quickly put in the battery pack, and a closer look and inspection reveals it's 1200 milliamp hours, and you can just snaps into place right here, and obviously you can release it here as well. It says open. So that should be it. Let's turn it on, and very easy, you change the channels like that, and the antenna should also feels pretty solid. So interesting is also the speaker mic, because normally we have this type of connector. I guess I forgot how to call this Kenwood type connector, Motorola type connector. You know what I mean. So let me quickly unscrew this. But I think companies at some point started to replace this old connector with this newer one, which we should be able to find below here. Just take a flathead screwdriver and you can release this. And as you can see here, this is like, almost looks like a tiny little bit, I would almost say PCB, but like a small plate with contacts. So I'm not sure if there's a USB programming cable for that. Maybe I have to look this up. But your normal style accessories, they won't fit there. So that's also something to keep in mind. But I also guess because this also has like a rubber gasket right here, that should give you more protection from water intrusion. So let's cover this up back again. I think it should be definitely an improvement over the older connector. Definitely nice to have. And I think I hit the squelch button right there. So let me zoom out, and then we're gonna charge this up, and then we're gonna do the water test. So zooming out right here. And yeah, this concludes the unboxing. And so far, I really have to say they appear to be really nice and solid radios, really nicely built. As you can see, it's my charging spot right here. So let's quickly put that into the docking station as well and connect this to the additional 5-port charger. I'm putting the power on. Red charging indicator light, that's something you should always do. Charge up your radios. And what I noticed is that docking station, I really like that docking station. I mean, I think they fit in perfectly. Some other docking stations, I think from previous generations, they were a little bit more fidgety. I hope I pronounced it correctly, guys. And like I told you, you might also want to consider this additional 5-port charger that's not included. So I let this charge up for a while, and then I think I'm going to go outside tomorrow and do my usual rain test plus the water test like I promised you. So next up, we're gonna jump to part 3A, the water test. So guys, I went outside and I prepped the water test for these waterproof Retevis radios. So why don't I just show you this test setup. So I'm just gonna spray them down with a little bit of water. So let's see how they do. And actually, I think it's best to take a little bit of a step back. Yeah, I'm just gonna drown them to simulate some rain. Maybe I can zoom in a little bit here as well for you guys, so you can see the water test. And then right after that, I'm just gonna head outside and do the range test and see whether these radios work. Usually it's the speaker that sounds maybe a little bit muffled if there's getting water inside, but yeah, I think they should hold up well if you have some rain or something going on. So let's stop this, and then we're ready for the range test. And as you can see, I generously sprayed them with water, so that should be sufficient for simulating rain. So yeah guys, let's shake this a little bit, see how they hold up. I would say that looks pretty good. Maybe turn them on. Yeah, I feel maybe the speaker is a little bit more silent than before, but otherwise, oh yeah, the speaker is more silent, definitely. So maybe I have to let them dry for a second before doing the range test, but otherwise they still work.
Hey guys, range test of the waterproof Retevis radios. Now at test point number one was 420 feet, and what I noticed, the microphone from the water test seemed to be a little bit on the weak side. So test point number one, 420 feet of the waterproof Retevis. And guys, range test of the waterproof Retevis radios. Test point number 2 with about 790 feet. And let's see how the microphone performs. I tried the radios a little bit, but yeah, let's see what the sound quality is after the water test. Test point number 2, 790 feet. And again, guys, range test. This time at test point number 3 with 1,250 feet. And I'm kind of curious to see how these radios sound. Usually I always test the normal ones. This time I test the waterproof ones, and we have amazing weather today outside again. So test point number 3 with 1,250 feet or 380 meters. Hey guys, range test of these waterproof Retevis radios, and we have really nice summer weather, and I was thinking it's probably going to get hot. Let's see whether we get a heat wave this year. Test point number 4 with 1,540 feet, and I am a little bit closer with my mouth to the mic, so to compensate, because earlier it seemed to be a little bit weaker than the normal radios. Test point number 4, 1,540 feet. And excellent, guys, excellent. Right now I reached the next range test point, and I'm really curious to see how these Retevis radios perform compared to my other ones. Usually I get easily a mile out of these radios on my test range. So right now we're at test point number 5, 2,000 feet, test point number 5, 2,000 feet. And let's see how this sounds. Test point number 5. And up next we have reached range test point number 6, with approximately 3,200 feet. And we're going to explore a little bit how these radios perform. The further I go away, this time at test point number 6 with 2,300 feet of the waterproof Retevis radio. Point number 6. And again, guys, range test. I had to skip one range test point today because there was some police. I didn't want to appear to be awkward. So right now we are at test point number 8 with approximately 3,200 feet or 0.6 miles. And yeah, some radios, the quality deteriorates a little bit here at that test route. Keep in mind it's only PMR446. So test point number 8 was using the metric system 1 kilometer. Test point number 8. And again, guys, range test of the Retevis radios. This time at the test point number 9 at this very nice summer day with 1.2 kilometers or 3/4 of a mile approximately. And yeah, I mean, if you still hear me loud and clear, then that's pretty okay for these low-powered 0.5 watt European radios. Let's see how this sounds. Test point number 9, 3/4 of a mile.
Awesome, guys. This concludes my test of these waterproof, license-free 2-way radios. And as you have seen, they do a pretty good job with their IP67 water rating. However, as I also noticed, if you have a lot of water spray directly in there, there are some nooks and crevices behind which is the speaker. So that did sound a little bit muffled right after the water, after I sprayed it with water. And I think I also sprayed it maybe a little bit too much, because you see this small hole where the microphone is. So when talking, I also had to get pretty close, maybe a little bit closer than usual with the usual radios that are not waterproof. But maybe that's also a design issue to keep the microphone safe. In any case, if there's a lot of rain, I can already tell you, you have to turn up the volume all the way. And B, I think it's best to just shake it out and let it dry a little bit, so to regain the full volume of the speaker. Otherwise, when it comes to the range test, I really think some other Retevis radios I tested recently, the RT648, I believe, they performed a little bit nicer when it comes to the clarity and yeah, also the connector. So that should be an advantage, because the classical, I think you call it Kenwood style connector, that would not be waterproof. So I have to play around a little bit and see what accessories are available for this. And guys, if you know how this connector is called, let me know. I have to look this up myself. I try to give you all the answers, but sometimes I'm also just human. I have to look it up myself. And range test wise, I think I skipped range test 0.7 because there was some police and I didn't want to be awkward or interfere with the work of the officers. So I skipped that right now. And then the last test point, I think where I reach a mile, I think the camera shut off just right before that. So I apologize for that. But other than that, you see comparably how this sounds compared to the other radios that I just mentioned, 617, which I also can show you at the end of the video very briefly. Guys, you're invited to head over to my channel page. Let me show this to you here in the radio section. I've tested a lot of different radios. So that's where my viewers like to compare before they make a purchase, and you can compare right now as well. And guys, I've made so many two-way radio reviews already, license-free ones. So maybe I'm going to take a break for a month or something like this. But other than that, if you want to see any other radios, let me know in the comments below what radios you prefer. Personally, I enjoy taking these walks and doing these range tests. It's nice to get outside a little bit while at the same time delivering something useful to you. So I appreciate you tuning in. Have fun with your new gear. I see you as a subscriber in the next video. Have an awesome day. And like I told you just a second ago, I also recently tested a normal Retevis radio that's not waterproof, the RT648, I believe, and that performed a little bit better in the range test and had a nicer audio quality. So I encourage you to check this out on my channel page as well in the two-way radio playlist. Awesome for tuning in. A lot of people have already subscribed because of the useful videos that I provide for you here. You can subscribe right now as well. I see you next time.